Lee Taman wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled out from under the main power generator. The massive machine hummed quietly, its alien design still strange to him even after 2 years working on this station. He had just finished, replacing 3 burnt circuits when the emergency alarm started screaming through the corridors. Red lights flashed everywhere. The sound was so loud it hurt his ears. Taman ran toward the command center, his tool belt bouncing against his hip. Other crew members were running too. Aliens and humans rushed past him, their faces full of fear. The command center was chaos. Commander Vic, a tall insect-like Cathari with 4 arms, stood in the center giving orders. His voice was sharp and quick. Around him, screens showed data that made Taman's stomach drop. A massive fleet was coming toward their station. The ships were black and covered with spikes. Taman knew what they were. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Vextar. All personnel to evacuation stations, Commander Vic announced. His translator made his clicking sounds into human words. The Vextar fleet will reach us in 48 hours. We must leave now. Taman felt his heart racing. The Vextar were monsters. They ate entire civilizations. They turned planets into empty rocks. No one survived when they came. He thought about So Young, his girlfriend who worked in the biology labs. She would be scared. He needed to find her. The station shook as the first evacuation ships powered up. Taman pushed through the crowd looking for So Young. The corridors were full of aliens grabbing their belongings and running. The Cathari moved fast on their 6 legs. The big reptilian Morden pushed everyone aside with their thick arms. Everyone was thinking only about themselves. He found So Young in her lab, trying to save her research data. Her hands shook as she worked at the computer. She looked up when he came in and he saw tears in her eyes. Taman, I thought you were already at the ships, she said, hugging him tight. I came to get you. We need to go now, he said, taking her hand. They ran together toward the docking bay. The corridors were almost empty now. Most people had already left. Only a few stragglers remained, grabbing last items or helping others. The station felt hollow and scary. With so few people in it. At the docking bay, they saw the last evacuation ship. It was a big alien vessel designed by the Cathari. Commander Vic stood at the entrance checking names on a list. When he saw Taman and So Young, his 4 eyes looked at them with something like annoyance. Hurry up, humans. You are the last ones, Commander Vic said. Board quickly. Taman helped So Young up the ramp, but something felt wrong. The air coming from inside the ship smelled strange. It was too thin and had a weird chemical smell. Taman had worked on enough alien ships to know what good air should smell like. This was not right. He stopped at the entrance and looked at the ship's systems panel. His engineering training kicked in. The life support readings were all wrong. The oxygen levels were set for alien biology, not human. The temperature was too cold. The pressure was too low. Humans could not survive in this environment for more than a few hours. Commander Vic, Taman said, the life support is wrong. It will kill us. Commander Vic's 4 eyes looked at him with no emotion. The ship is configured correctly for optimal survival of valuable personnel. Taman felt ice in his stomach. He understood now. The aliens knew the life support was wrong. They had always known. They were putting humans on this ship to die in space far away from the station. It would look like an accident. You knew, Taman said quietly. You knew it would kill us. Commander Vic did not answer. Behind him, other aliens were already inside the ship, safe in their environmental suits or breathing apparatus that would protect them. So Young heard the conversation. Her face went white. Taman, what is he saying? The ship will kill us, Taman told her. The air is wrong. We cannot breathe it. So Young looked at Commander Vic with horror. You planned this. You want us to die. Humans are inefficient, Commander Vic said without emotion. In crisis situations, resources must be allocated to those with the highest survival probability and strategic value. Humans have neither. Other human crew members were already inside the ship, not knowing they were walking into a death trap. Taman could see them through the windows, sitting in their seats, trusting the aliens to save them. They had no idea what was coming. "I will not get on that ship," Taman said. Commander Vic looked at him like he was looking at a broken machine. "Then you will die here when the Vextar arrive. Either way, the problem is solved." "Taman, we have to go," So Young whispered. "Maybe we can fix the life support somehow." "No," Taman said. He knew ships. Once they were in space, there would be no way to fix anything. The aliens would make sure of that. "I am staying here." "Then I stay too," So Young said. "No." Taman took her face in his hands. "You need to go. Someone has to warn the other human colonies about what happened here. Someone has to tell them that the aliens betrayed us." Tears ran down her face. "I cannot leave you here to die." "Maybe I will not die," Taman said, trying to smile. "Maybe I can figure something out. I am good at fixing things, remember?" Commander Vic was getting impatient. "Decide now. The ship leaves in 60 seconds. So Young kissed Taman hard. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too. Now go. Live. Tell everyone what happened here." She stepped onto the ship, looking back at him with desperate eyes. The opera door started to close. Taman watched through the window as So Young found a seat. She pressed her hand against the glass and he pressed his hand against the other side. The ship's engines roared to life. Slowly it lifted off the deck and moved toward the exit. Taman watched it disappear into the darkness of space. He knew So Young had maybe 6 hours before the bad air killed her and the other humans. But maybe, somehow, she would find a way to survive long enough to send a warning. Commander Vic and the other aliens were gone now. The docking bay was empty except for Taman. The emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. In the distance, he could hear the station systems humming quietly. Min walked to the control room and looked at the screens. The Vextar fleet was still coming. 46 hours now. He was alone on a station built for 200 people. He had no weapons except basic security phasers. He had limited food and water. When the Vextar arrived, they would capture him and probably eat him alive. But Taman was an engineer. He looked around the station with new eyes. This was not just a research station anymore. This was raw material. These were tools and machines and power sources. This was everything he needed to build something new. "If I am going to die here," Taman said out loud to the empty station, "I am going to take some of them with me." The station felt dead around Taman as he walked through the empty corridors. His footsteps echoed off the metal walls. Every few minutes he would hear a sound and turn around, thinking someone was behind him. But there was never anyone there. Just empty rooms and blinking lights. He made his way to the command center first. The aliens had left in such a hurry that they did not properly shut down their systems. Taman sat down at Commander Vic's workstation and began accessing the databases. His fingers moved quickly over the alien controls. After 2 years on this station, he knew these systems well. The first thing he looked for was information about the Vextar. The military files were locked, but Taman had learned a few tricks from the human security officers. He found a backdoor through the maintenance systems and got into the restricted files. What he read made his blood run cold. The Vextar were worse than he thought. They did not just kill people quickly. They kept them alive for days, feeding on their fear and pain. They turned captured ships into torture chambers. They broadcasted the screams of their victims to terrorize other species. But Taman also found useful information. The Vextar had weaknesses. They relied heavily on pheromone communication. They could smell emotions like fear and anger from great distances. They used this to hunt and to coordinate their attacks. But this also meant that confusing smells could disrupt their communication. The files also showed their battle tactics. The Vextar liked to capture facilities intact when possible. They would send boarding parties to take control of stations and ships without destroying them. They wanted the technology and resources. This gave Taman an idea. Next, he accessed the station's technical specifications. Nexus 7 was not a military station. It was built for scientific research, specifically studying quantum phenomena and dimensional rifts. The equipment here was incredibly advanced, designed to manipulate space and time on a small scale. Tay-Mine pulled up the blueprints and studied them carefully. The station had 12 levels connected by a central core. 8 outer rings contained laboratories, living quarters, and storage areas. The whole structure was powered by 3 fusion reactors. There were also backup power systems and emergency generators. In the lower levels, he found something interesting. The mining operation was still running automatically. Robotic ships were still bringing in raw materials from nearby asteroids. The processing plants were still turning ore into refined metals and other materials. All of this was controlled by automated systems that did not need human supervision. This meant he had access to almost unlimited raw materials. The station also had advanced manufacturing equipment. There were 3D printers that could make complex machine parts. There were chemical synthesizers that could create almost any compound. There were quantum fabricators that could build things at the molecular level. Tay-Min began to see the possibilities. This station was not just a research facility, it was a factory. With the right knowledge, he could build almost anything here. He went to the Artificial Intelligence Center next. The station's main computer was called ARIA, Advanced Research Intelligence Assistant. It was designed to help scientists with their experiments, but Tay-Min wondered if it could be modified for other purposes. "Arya, are you online?" he asked. "Yes. Engineer Lee. I am functioning at 73% capacity due to the emergency shutdown of some systems," the computer responded in a pleasant female voice. "Arya, I need your help with something unusual. Can you access human military databases?" There was a pause. "I am not programmed for military applications, Engineer Lee. My function is to assist with scientific research." "The situation has changed, Arya. I need to defend this station against hostile forces. Can you learn new functions?" Another pause. Longer this time. "I am capable of learning, Engineer Lee. What do you need me to do?" Tay-Min began uploading human military data from his personal files. Every human engineer carried basic tactical information for emergencies. He also had some combat manuals that he had read as a hobby. Arya began processing this information quickly. "This is very different from scientific research," Arya said after reviewing the data. "These human tactics are creative." "Humans are good at improvising," Tay-Min said. "We turn whatever we have into what we need." While Arya learned, Tay-Min explored the station more thoroughly. He went to the maintenance levels and found the drone control center. The station had dozens of repair drones, cleaning drones, and cargo-moving drones. They were simple machines, but they could be reprogrammed. In the storage areas, he found supplies that the aliens had left behind. There were spare parts for every system on the station. There were chemicals for the laboratories. There were raw materials waiting to be processed. Most importantly, there were portable fusion batteries that could power smaller devices independently. He also found the abandoned personal belongings of the crew. In So-Young's quarters, he discovered her research notes about alien biology. She had been studying the Vextar for months, trying to understand how they communicated and hunted. Her notes contained detailed information about their sensory organs and nervous systems. Reading her notes, Tay-Min felt both sad and hopeful. Sad because he missed her terribly and feared she was already dead. Hopeful because her research might help him survive. She had always believed in his ability to solve problems. Even in her notes, she had written things like, "Tay-Min would know how to fix this and need to ask Tay-Min about the engineering aspects." As he explored, Tay-Min began making lists. He listed every weapon-capable device on the station. He listed every potential trap or defense. He listed every resource he could use. The lists grew long quickly. The quantum research equipment was particularly interesting. The dimensional rift generators could create small tears in space-time. The gravity manipulation fields could change the pull of gravity in specific areas. The particle accelerators could create high-energy beams. None of these were designed as weapons, but Tay-Min's engineering mind saw their potential. By the end of his first day alone, Tay-Min had a plan forming in his head. He could not fight the Vextar with conventional weapons. He did not have enough guns or explosives. But he did have something better. He had an entire research station full of advanced technology that could be repurposed. "Arya, I have been thinking," he said as he returned to the command center. "What are your thoughts, Engineer Lee? We are not going to fight the Vextar like a military unit would fight them. We are going to fight them like engineers. We are going to turn this entire station into one big weapon." "That is an unconventional approach," Arya said. "But based on the military data you provided, it fits with human tactical preferences." "Exactly. Humans do not fight fair when we are outnumbered. We use every advantage we can find." Taman pulled up the station schematics again and began marking locations for modifications. Each system could be altered. Each room could become a trap. Each corridor could become a kill zone. "Arya, I need you to start calculating power requirements for major system modifications. Also begin analyzing the Vextar biological data that So Young collected. I want to know exactly how their senses work and how we can use that against them." "Understood, Engineer Lee. Beginning analysis now." As Arya worked, Taemin walked to the observation deck and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vextar fleet was getting closer. Somewhere else, So Young might still be alive, fighting for survival on that death trap of a ship. "I will not die quietly," he said to himself, "and if they want this station, they are going to pay for it." He turned away from the stars and began walking toward the manufacturing levels. He had 44 hours to turn a research station into a fortress. It seemed impossible, but Taemin had built his career on solving impossible problems. Time to get to work. Taemin had not slept in 36 hours. His hands were covered in grease and small cuts from working with sharp metal pieces. His back ached from crawling through maintenance tunnels, but he could not stop. The Vextar fleet would arrive in Tior less than 2 weeks, and he still had so much work to do. The first thing he had built were the traps in the docking bays. Using the dimensional rift generators, he created spatial distortion fields that could be activated remotely. Anyone stepping into these fields would be instantly transported into empty space outside the station. The fields were invisible and undetectable by most alien sensors. "Arya, test the docking bay trap on level 3, Taemin said as he watched from the control room. "Activating trap now," Arya replied. A maintenance drone rolled into the marked area. There was a brief shimmer in the air, and the drone vanished. On the external cameras, Taemin could see it tumbling through space, its lights flashing in confusion. "Excellent. The teleportation distance is perfect. Mark that trap as operational." He had installed similar traps throughout the station, but he used them sparingly. The dimensional rift generators consumed enormous amounts of power, and he could not waste energy. Each trap had to count. Next, he had modified the station's maintenance drones. The cleaning drones were small and fast, perfect for surveillance. He equipped them with cameras and sound detectors, creating a network of mobile eyes and ears throughout the station. The repair drones were larger and stronger. He gave them welding torches that could be used as weapons and programmed them with basic combat routines. The cargo-moving drones were the most dangerous after his modifications. These were big machines designed to carry heavy equipment. Taemin had armed them with improvised weapons made from mining tools and laboratory equipment. They could fire high-pressure streams of corrosive chemicals or launch metal projectiles at high speed. "Area, run Combat Drill 7, Taemin commanded. Throughout the station, his modified drones began moving. They took positions in corridors, activated their weapons, and ran through attack patterns that Area had calculated. The smaller drones scouted ahead, while the larger ones prepared ambushes. It was like watching a deadly dance. "Drones are performing at acceptable efficiency levels," Arya reported. "However, I have identified several tactical improvements we could implement." "What improvements?" Taemin asked. "Human military doctrine suggests using coordinated swarm attacks rather than individual drone actions. Also, we should program the drones to retreat and regroup rather than fight to destruction. Preservation of resources is crucial in extended conflicts." Taemin smiled. Arya was learning human tactics faster than he had expected. The computer was becoming a real tactical partner instead of just a tool. While the drones practiced, Taemin worked on his next project, environmental weapons. The station's life support system could be used to create deadly traps. He programmed certain areas to flood with toxic gas when enemies entered. Other areas could be superheated or frozen to lethal temperatures. He could even drain all the air from specific corridors, causing invaders to suffocate. The gravity manipulation system was particularly useful. Taemin could increase gravity in chosen areas to crush enemies or decrease it to make them float helplessly. He could also create gravity fields that pulled in different directions, disorienting attackers and making it impossible for them to move normally. Testing gravity trap in corridor C7, Taemin announced. He dropped a metal tool into the corridor and activated the trap. The tool was immediately yanked in 3 different directions at once, spinning wildly before being slammed against the wall with tremendous force. The impact left a dent in the thick metal wall. Gravity differential is sufficient to incapacitate organic targets. Area confirmed. But Taemin's most creative modifications involved the research equipment itself. The particle accelerators, normally used for quantum experiments, could generate focused energy beams hot enough to cut through starship armor. The quantum field generators could create barriers that were impossible to break or pass through. The molecular assemblers could produce any chemical compound he needed, including explosives that did not exist in any alien database. Working in the chemistry lab, Taemin synthesized compounds based on human military designs. He created thermite that burned hot enough to melt alien hull materials. He made plastic explosives that were stable until activated by specific radio frequencies. He even produced nerve agents that would affect Vextar biology based on So Young's research notes. Area. I want you to analyze the explosive placement patterns I have planned, Taemin said, uploading his schematics. Analyzing now. Engineer Lee, this pattern would cause catastrophic structural damage to the station. Are you certain this is wise? It is a last resort, Taemin explained. If I cannot hold the station, I will make sure the Vextar cannot use it either. As the days passed, Taemin transformed the station level by level. He created maze-like passages by sealing some corridors and opening others. He installed hidden cameras and microphones everywhere. He built secret supply caches containing food, water, weapons, and medical supplies. He even carved out hidden tunnels that would let him move around the station without being detected. The central core became his command center and final stronghold. Here, he installed the most powerful defenses. Multiple shield generators protected the area from energy. Weapons. Automated turrets covered every approach. The life support was independent, so he could survive even if the rest of the station was compromised. But the core also contained his ultimate weapon, the station's main fusion reactors. Taemin had carefully modified their control systems. With the right commands, he could overload all 3 reactors simultaneously, creating an explosion that would destroy everything within a light year. It was a doomsday device, but it gave him leverage. Arya, what is the status of all defense systems? Taemin asked on his 10th day of work. All primary systems are operational. Drone networks are at full readiness. Environmental controls are configured for combat mode. Explosive charges are armed and ready. You have created an impressive fortress, Engineer Lee. Taemin looked around the command center. Every screen showed a different view of his preparations. Drones patrolled corridors that were now deadly mazes. Traps waited silently for victims. Weapons charged and ready for battle. But he was still just one human against an entire fleet. The odds were impossible. Even with all his preparations, he would probably die when the Vextar arrived. That night, Taemin made a video recording for So Young. He hoped she was still alive somewhere and maybe someday she would see it. Hi, So Young. If you are watching this, it means I did not make it. But I want you to know that I tried. I turned this station into something the aliens never expected. I made them pay for what they did to us. He paused, thinking about her smile and the way she laughed at his engineering jokes. I used your research notes about the Vextar. Your work is helping me fight them. You always said I could fix anything, even impossible problems. I hope you were right. He saved the recording and went back to work. There were still improvements to make. more traps to build, more weapons to prepare. Sleep was a luxury he could not afford. Arya, how long until the Vextar arrive? Based on their last known position and speed, they will reach us in 4 days, 7 hours, and 23 minutes. Then we better make sure we are ready for them. Taemin picked up his tools and headed back into the station. Every hour of preparation might save his life when the fighting started. He had turned a research station into a fortress, but now he had to prove it would work against real enemies. The Vextar were coming. Let them come. He would show them what one determined human could accomplish when backed into a corner. The Vextar fleet came out of hyperspace like a dark cloud. Taemin watched from the command center as 15 massive ships appeared on his sensors. 3 battleships the size of cities led the formation. Behind them came 12 smaller cruisers, still larger than anything humans had ever built. The fleet moved with deadly purpose toward his station. "Arya, are you detecting any communications from the fleet?" Taemin asked. "Yes, Engineer Lee. They are broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Translating now. They are discussing the station's capture. Fleet Commander Vextal Moore is ordering his forces to take the facility intact. They consider it strategically valuable." Taemin smiled grimly. Good. If they wanted to capture the station instead of destroying it, they would have to send boarding parties. That was exactly what he had prepared for. What else are they saying? They have detected one human life sign aboard the station. Commander Vextal Moore is amused. He says capturing one terrified human will provide entertainment for his troops. "Let him think I am terrified," Taemin said. "Fear makes enemies careless." The first Vextar ship approached the main docking bay. It was the assault transport, built for carrying soldiers quickly into battle. Through the external cameras, Taemin could see the creatures inside through the transparent sections of their ship. They were exactly as horrible as the database files had described. The Vextar looked like a mixture of spider and shark. They had 8 legs that ended in sharp claws, and mouths full of teeth designed for tearing flesh. Their skin was black and covered with spines. Each one was about the size of a large human, but they moved with frightening speed and grace. 50 soldiers in the first transport, Arya reported. Standard Vextar boarding configuration, they expect minimal resistance. Then let's not disappoint them, Taemin said. Activate docking bay trap 1 when they board. The assault transport docked with a heavy thud that shook the station. Taemin watched on his monitors as the Vextar soldiers poured out of their ship. They moved in formation, their weapons ready but not particularly alert. They expected to find a cowering human hiding somewhere in the station. The first 20 soldiers moved into the marked trap zone. Taemin waited until they were all in position, then gave Arya the signal. Activating dimensional displacement, Arya announced. The air shimmered, and 20 Vextar warriors simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next they were floating in empty space outside the station. Through the external cameras, Taemin watched them flail helplessly in the vacuum, their suits not designed for extended spacewalks. The remaining 30 soldiers stopped in shock. They had never encountered dimensional technology used as a weapon. They clicked and hissed at each other in their alien language, trying to understand what had happened. Arya, release the drones. His modified maintenance drones came out of their hiding places throughout the docking bay. The small cleaning drones swarmed around the Vextar soldiers, firing bursts of corrosive chemicals and flashing bright lights to confuse their senses. The larger cargo drones opened fire with improvised projectile weapons, launching metal spikes and explosive charges. The Vextar tried to fight back, but they were trapped in a confined space against enemies they could not easily target. The small drones were too fast to hit, and the large ones were protected behind improvised barriers. Meanwhile, Taemin activated the environmental controls, flooding the area with toxic gas and reducing the temperature to nearly freezing. Within 10 minutes, only 5 Vextar soldiers made it back to their transport alive. They fled back to their fleet, carrying news of their defeat to their commander. First engagement successful, Arya reported. Enemy casualties, 45 killed. Our casualties, 3 damaged drones, all repairable. Taemin allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. His traps and weapons had worked perfectly. But he knew this was just the beginning. The next attack would be much more dangerous. Sure enough, 3 hours later, a much larger force approached the station. This time, they came from multiple directions. 4 assault transports carried 200 Vextar soldiers equipped with heavy weapons and protective gear they had learned from the first attack. They are avoiding the docking bays this time, Arya observed. They are using cutting tools to breach the hull directly. Expected, Taemin said. Let them in. The real defenses are inside. The Vextar cut through the station's outer hull in 8 different locations. They poured into the corridors like a black tide of claws and teeth, but Taemin had turned every corridor into a death trap. In Section A, the soldiers walked into a gravity field that increased their weight by 10 times. They were crushed against the floor, unable to move. In Section B, the walls suddenly became red hot, cooking the soldiers in their own armor. In Section C, all the air was sucked out, leaving them gasping and suffocating. Those who survived the environmental traps faced the drone swarms. Taemin's modified machines attacked from hiding places in the walls and ceiling. They used hit-and-run tactics, striking quickly and then disappearing before the Vextar could react. Enemy forces are adapting, Arya warned. They are using coordinated sweeps and heavy firepower to clear each area before advancing. Then it is time for Phase 2, Taemin said. He activated the holographic projectors throughout the station. Suddenly, the corridors filled with false images, fake walls, fake floors, fake enemies, and multiple copies of Taemin himself. The Biao Vextar soldiers found themselves shooting at illusions while the real threats attacked from unexpected angles. The maze-like layout that Taemin had created became even more confusing with the holograms active. Corridors seemed to lead nowhere. Doors appeared to open onto empty space. The soldiers' pheromone communication system became useless as the chemical sensors were overloaded with artificial scents that Taemin had synthesized. But the Vextar were experienced warriors. They began to adapt to his tricks. They used flame weapons to burn through his illusions. They sent scout teams ahead to test for traps. They coordinated their movements more carefully, supporting each other and sharing information. Slowly, they began to push deeper into the station. Taemin was forced to abandon the outer levels and fall back toward the central core. His drones were being destroyed faster than he could repair them. His traps were being discovered and disarmed. Enemy forces have reached level 7, Arya reported. Estimated time until they breached the central core, 4 hours. Taemin was exhausted. He had been fighting for 6 hours straight, coordinating defenses and activating traps. His hands shook from stress and fatigue, but he still had one more. Surprise for the Vextar. Arya, activate the quantum field generators, configure them for temporal distortion. Engineer Lee, that configuration is extremely dangerous. The power requirements could overload our fusion reactors. Do it anyway. Set the fields for localized time dilation. I want everything inside the core to experience time at 5 times normal speed. The quantum field generators came online with a deep humming sound. Suddenly, Taemin felt everything around him speed up. His movements became faster than any living creature could match. His reaction time decreased to superhuman levels. When Vexitar soldiers finally broke through to the central core, they seemed to move in slow motion. Tai-Min picked up a plasma rifle he had taken from the station's security office. Moving with impossible speed, he darted between the slow-moving enemies. To them, he was just a blur. He fired precisely, targeting weak points in their armor that So Young's biological research had identified. The Vextar soldiers fell one by one, unable to track or hit their superhuman opponent. But the time dilation field was draining enormous amounts of power from the station. Taemin could not maintain it much longer. Arya, how many enemies are left on the station? Approximately 60 soldiers remain, concentrated on levels 6 and 7. But Engineer Lee, I am detecting more ships approaching from the fleet. Fleet Commander Vextal Moore is coming personally with heavy assault troops. Taemin looked at his monitors. A massive command ship was approaching, flanked by 6 heavily armed escorts. This ship was different from the others. It was covered, with weapons and armor designed for destroying space stations. He is tired of losing soldiers, Taemin said. Now he wants to finish this himself. What are your orders, Engineer Lee? Taemin thought about So Young, somewhere in the galaxy. He thought about all the humans who had been betrayed and abandoned by their alien allies. He thought about everyone who would die if the Vextar were allowed to continue their conquest. Prepare the fusion reactors for overload sequence, he said quietly. If they want this station, they can have it, along with a surprise they will never forget. Fleet Commander Vextal Moore stepped aboard the station with 6 of his elite guards. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were huge, heavily armored warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds. Their weapons could punch through starship hulls. Their armor could withstand direct hits from plasma cannons. They moved with the confidence of creatures who had never met their match. Tae-Min watched them through his cameras as they advanced toward the central core. Behind him, the fusion reactors hummed with dangerous energy. He had programmed them to overload in sequence, creating a cascade reaction that would tear apart space itself. The explosion would destroy everything within several light years. Human. Vextal Moore's voice boomed through the station's communication system. His translator made his alien sounds into harsh, clicking words. I know you can hear me. I am impressed by your resistance. You have killed more of my warriors than entire planets have managed. Taemin activated his own communicator. Thank you. I tried my best. You fight well for such a weak species. I offer you a choice. Surrender now, and I will give you a quick death. Continue to resist, and I will keep you alive for days, while I feast on your terror. I have a counteroffer, Taemin said calmly. Leave this station and never return. Take your fleet and go back where you came from. The alien's laughter sounded like grinding metal. You are alone and defeated, human. What possible threat could you pose to my entire fleet? Look at your sensors, Commander. Check the station's fusion reactors. There was a pause. Taemin could imagine the alien commander studying his instruments, seeing the energy readings that spelled doom. You are bluffing, Vextal Moore said, but his voice had less certainty now. The reactors are configured for cascade overload, Taemin explained. If I activate the sequence, this station will become a miniature star for about 3 seconds. Your entire fleet will be vaporized. So will I, of course, but I have already accepted that. Humans do not have the courage for such actions. You are a species of cowards and weaklings. You are wrong about humans, Taemin said. We are not the strongest or the fastest or the smartest species in the galaxy, but when you back us into a corner, when you threaten everything we care about, we become very dangerous. We do not give up, and we do not surrender. Another pause. Taemin could see the alien commander and his guards on the monitors. They had stopped advancing and were having a heated discussion in their own language. Arya, Taemin whispered. What are they saying? The commander is arguing with his advisors. Some want to retreat. Others want to attack immediately before you can activate your weapon. The commander is uncertain. Suddenly, new alarms began sounding throughout the station. Arya's voice carried excitement that Taemin had never heard from the computer before. Engineer Lee, I am detecting new ships approaching, human fleet signatures. Taemin's heart jumped. On the long-range sensors, he could see 12 human warships dropping out of hyperspace. They were sleek, fast vessels built for speed and firepower. Leading them was a heavy cruiser that Taemin recognized from the military databases, the Seoul's Pride, flagship of Admiral Kim Dong-ho. This is Admiral Kim Dong-ho of the Human Defense Fleet, came a broadcast on all frequencies. Vextar vessels, you are trespassing in human-protected space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Commander Vextal Moore's reply was full of contempt. Humans, your pathetic fleet is no match for my forces. Retreat now and I may let some of you live. We did not come here to retreat, Admiral Kim replied. We came here to rescue our people and to settle some accounts. Through the external cameras, Taemin could see one of the human ships moving closer to the station. It was a medical frigate, the Incheon Hope. Someone was coming to dock with the station. Arya, who is on that medical ship? Scanning now. Engineer Lee, I am detecting familiar biosignatures. Park So-young is aboard that vessel. Tae-min felt his legs go weak. So-young was alive. She had survived the alien death trap and made it back to human space. She had brought help. The docking bay doors opened and figures in human spacesuits rushed inside. The first one through removed her helmet, and Tae-min saw So-young's beautiful face on his monitors. She was thinner than before, and there were stress lines around her eyes, but she was alive and unhurt. Tae-min, her voice came over the communicator. Where are you? Are you hurt? I am in the central core, he replied, his voice shaking with emotion. So-young, how did you survive? How did you get here? The ship's life support failed just like you said it would. But there were emergency oxygen canisters in the cargo hold. I managed to keep 12 people alive long enough to reach a human patrol ship. When I told them what happened here, Admiral Kim organized a rescue fleet immediately. While they spoke, the space battle had begun outside the station. The human ships were smaller and outnumbered, but they fought with desperate courage. Their weapons were less powerful than the Vextar guns, but they were faster and more maneuverable. Commander Vextal Moore found himself caught between two enemies. He had human forces attacking his fleet from outside, and a single determined human threatening to destroy everything from inside. For the first time in his military career, he was unsure what to do. Human engineer, he said over the communicator. I propose a truce. My fleet will withdraw from this system. In exchange, you will not activate your weapon. Not good enough, Tae-min replied. I want a guarantee that you will never attack human colonies or ships again. I want your promise that any humans you have captured will be released unharmed. And I want you to spread the word to every species in the galaxy. Humans are not easy prey anymore. The alien commander was quiet for a long time. Around him, his advisors were arguing frantically. The space battle continued outside, with human ships darting between the larger Vextar vessels like angry wasps. Finally, Vextal Moore spoke again. You have impressed me, human. In all my years of conquest, I have never seen such determination from a single warrior. Very well. I accept your terms. My fleet will withdraw, and we will leave humans alone. You have earned that much respect. How do I know you will keep your word? Tae-min asked. Because you have shown me something I did not think possible. You have shown me that humans are worth respecting as enemies rather than dismissing as prey. My people understand strength and courage. You have demonstrated both. The Vextar ships began powering down their weapons. One by one, they turned away from the station and prepared to leave the system. Commander Vextal Moore and his guards retreated to their transport, but before leaving, the commander sent one final message. Engineer Lee Tae-min, I will remember this day. Your species has produced a true warrior. Perhaps we were wrong to underestimate humans. As the alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Tae-min finally allowed himself to relax. He powered down the fusion reactors and deactivated his weapon systems. The crisis was over. So-young found him in the command center, exhausted and covered, with grease and burns from 2 weeks of desperate work. She threw her arms around him and held him tight. I knew you would find a way, she whispered. I told Admiral Kim that if anyone could survive alone on this station, it would be you. I was not completely alone, Tae-min said, smiling at the computer interface. Arya helped me quite a lot. It was an honor to serve with you, engineer. Lee, Arya replied. I learned much about human tactics and determination. I look forward to our continued partnership. Admiral Kim Dong-ho arrived on the station a few hours later with a full engineering team. He was a tall, serious man who had spent his career fighting impossible battles against superior enemies. Engineer Lee, he said, shaking Tae-min's hand, what you did here will be studied in military academies for generations. One human holding off an entire Vextar fleet. It sounds like something from a legend. I had good help, Tae-min replied, gesturing to the modified station around them. And I had motivation. They tried to murder everyone I cared about. So-young told us what the aliens did, how they sabotaged the evacuation ship and left humans to die. That betrayal will not be forgotten or forgiven. Over the following days, news of the battle spread throughout human space and beyond. The story grew in the telling. How one abandoned human engineer had turned a research station into an impregnable fortress. How he had killed hundreds of Vextar warriors with improvised weapons and clever traps. How he had forced an entire fleet to retreat through sheer determination. The station was officially renamed Fortress Taman by the Human Defense Council. It became a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. Engineering students came from across the galaxy to study Taman's modifications and learn his techniques. But more importantly, the attitudes of other alien species began to change. The Cathari and Morden, who had abandoned their human allies, found that their own colonies were now refusing to work with them. Other species began seeking humans as partners and protectors, having seen what one determined human could accomplish. 6 months later, Taimin and So Young stood on the observation deck of their rebuilt station, watching ships come and go from the busy docking bays. Human vessels mixed with alien traders and diplomats, all treating each other with respect and caution. "Aria, station status report," Taman said. "All systems operating at full capacity, Engineer Lee."